Welcome to the Bad Beat Podcast. I am your host, Robert Eisenstadt, and today I have my wife on here with me, Sierra Eisenstadt. Now, man, that's still hard for me to get used to.
Why'd you give me such a last name that's so hard to spell? Like it went from being so easy to so hard.
How the fuck you think I felt when I was going in high school? Or even to this day, when people are like, how do you spell your last name? Like, E-I-S-E-N-S-T-A-T. I feel like it takes an extra 5 minutes out of my life. Anyways, so today we are going to be going a little over my life and why I started the podcast and how I got to where I am today. I feel that it was a little unfair that I'm bringing people onto my podcast to share their story, and I've never really shared mine. My wife knows my story, and, there's only been 2 people that I've actually sat down and told my entire life story to. And so I thought I'd jump on here and tell you guys the struggles that I've gone through and how I overcame them and how I got to where I am today and why I started this podcast, how I started this podcast. And, we'll just kind of just get going, right?
Yeah, you kind of left yourself out of all of it. You went straight into interviewing people and having them share their story, but I think yours is such a strong part as well. So
yeah,
it's only fair for you to share yours.
Even when I was starting this podcast, I didn't even know what I was doing. I had no fucking idea what I was doing. I was just like, hey, I'm starting a podcast, and you're like, okay. I just started ordering shit left and right, and
oh my gosh, the Amazon packages came everywhere.
Yeah, they were crazy. And then even this studio, we weren't even supposed to have the podcast in this room. It was supposed to be my office, but I didn't like the way it looked, so we set everything up. It didn't look right. We tore it all back down.
Oh my gosh.
And then redid it again. But it looks good. I'm happy with it.
Meanwhile, I'm answering phones in the other room like, what are they doing in there? There's painting.
Getting mad at me because you were working and I was building a podcast room?
Yeah. I was handling business.
Yeah, well, somebody's got to do it around here.
I know, someone's got to work.
So I guess a little bit of my backstory would be, I was born July 28th, 1993 in Chicago. So for those of you fuckers, I can't do math. That's 29 years old. I was born in Chicago, Illinois, and I had an awesome fucking childhood, honestly. Like, I had the childhood where we were still out riding bikes. I started riding a bike without training wheels at like 2.5 years old, and it was awesome. We spent every day outside. It was like the cable box, which I don't know if you know about the cable box. I won't start.
Don't start with the young
I
jokes.
won't start.
I know about it.
Yeah. We were hanging out at the cable box every day, just doing crazy stuff, riding bikes. And my childhood was just absolutely amazing. And I remember being 8 years old, and my dad just came home one day and was like, hey, we're moving to Vegas. I was like, what? Like, I don't want to leave my friends.
Yeah.
Well, come to find out, my dad wanted to move here because of his sister was starting to get sick, wanted to move to Vegas. And so we just up and left. My parents left us with Sue. You know Sue.
Yeah.
Evan and Dan were like our childhood best friends. Left us with Sue, came out to, or no, just my dad. Or no, just my mom. My mom came and found the house, actually, that I grew up in, now that I think about it. So they found the house, and we ended up moving out here. And it was crazy. I still remember the very first day of being in Las Vegas. My dad had stayed behind in Chicago to work and finish up doing stuff with the movers, I think. So we were living with just my mom, and I remember the only toy that I had with me was my rollerblades.
Oh, gosh.
And it's so funny because my old neighborhood was just a big square. So I was like, hey, I'm going to go out rollerblading. I knew our old neighborhood in Chicago, so I went outside and I went rollerblading, got fucking lost.
Oh, man. And
in
as
a
square. Kid, too, at what, 8 years old, you said?
Yeah, I was 8 years old. My neighborhood was literally a square with one entrance, and I got lost.
That explains a lot.
But it was kind of funny because I ended up meeting my best friend, Kyle High, the first day I moved here. And, man, we did some shit. He got me into BMX. We started riding BMX every day, and we were riding at 10 years old from Henderson to Anthem, which a lot of people on here probably won't know, but that's probably, how far do you think Anthem is from like my dad's house?
At least like 30 minutes in a car.
Yeah. Well, how many miles is 30 minutes in a car? I don't know.
How fast you drive. It was at least like.
If you're driving 60 miles an hour, how long does it take you to go 60 miles?
1 hour. Come on. Gotta have more faith in me than
I'm just
that.
asking. You should hear some of the answers I've gotten. So anyways, we started doing a bunch of crazy stuff, and life was starting to get good, man.
You guys were the two Hellraisers.
Yeah, we fucking tore it up, man. But it also started bringing on trouble. It wasn't just him that I was hanging out with. I had a neighbor that lived right across the street from me, Jenna. Her entire family was absolutely amazing. And the childhood with all of my friends was really cool. And I feel like I was on a good path right up until my family started dying, right? So I don't remember the exact year, but I just remember being, how old was I? 10 or 11 years old maybe. And my Aunt Sharon, and I can't even remember correctly not my Aunt Sharon, my cousin Sharon, my dad's sister passed away first, or if my cousin Sharon passed away first. But the only thing I remember so vividly was my cousin dying and my dad driving us over there. And it was just like perfect timing. I pulled up to the house, or my dad pulled up to the house. I got out of the back seat and I walked over to the front door, and I literally saw the coroner's office like rolling her lifeless body around.
Oh, was that soon after she had passed away that you guys went over there?
Yeah, it was.
Oh, wow.
Like right then and there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we were all. My dad and his part of the family were super close. Unfortunately, I'm not as close with them anymore. But that was just such a strong picture in my mind that, like, I don't know, it was crazy. And I just remember feeling like so lost and confused on what was happening, because I was a kid. I'd never experienced that before.
And you're trying to process it. You don't really know what goes on after someone passes away until you experience it.
Yeah,
it's nuts.
And after that, it just kept happening. I just started experiencing so much loss in my life. His sister passed away, other cousins started passing away. And it just started like this onward trajectory of just losing people. And I feel like there was a break in between, like maybe 5 years where it was just like normal life. I was just being a kid, and I started hanging out with fucked up people, and I had no idea. And the craziest thing was, I remember going to my dad's work to get $20, because back then $20 for a weekend would actually last you, movies or whatever. And I had this kid named Mike come with me to my dad's work, and my dad walked out, met us, gave me the $20, pulled me aside, and he was like, "Hey, you can't be hanging out with that kid." And I was like, "What? Why?" He's like, "He's not good for you. I just got a bad feeling about him." And I was like, "You don't know what you're talking about. He's fine. Yeah. He's cool." And like 2 weeks later, this motherfucker stole my bike and threw it off the train tracks. So there's a set of train tracks behind our neighborhood, and it's like a wash. So it was like a bridge, and it was a big-ass bridge. He stole my bike, rode it to the train tracks, and threw it off the train tracks.
For what?
No idea, because he's an asshole.
So parents' intuition is pretty right, huh?
And it's crazy that I've acquired that. Like, I can... Like, now if I meet anybody, I can just instantly tell, like, just off energy, if you're a good person, you're a bad person.
Yeah, and I think that comes with experience, too, as you're older. When you're a kid, you're so unfazed by the real world and how people get screwed over and stuff like that until you start experiencing those things. Yeah. So as you've gotten older, you've learned to read people and their body language, and that shows a lot.
Yeah.
It's
crazy. But back then, I was like, "Man, you're stupid. You don't know what you're talking about."
Yeah. No, and with him being your friend, you're like, "Nah, he's fine."
Yeah. So watch out who you're hanging out with. But it was just like, I went down this like crazy spiral of just wanting to fit in. I feel like I never fit in with anybody. When I was in middle school and high school, I was always bullied because I was Jewish. Even to this day, some people still call me fucking Jew or Jew boy or Jewbert.
Yeah.
I hated that shit. So embarrassing. I remember I got in a fight in our high school locker room. We were in PE, and I walked in, and I literally see a dude sitting there drawing a swastika on my locker. And I don't know, some took over me. I ran in and tackled him. We got a fight. The coach broke it up, and I got suspended, which school was never a thing for me.
Yeah, school was a big struggle, right?
Yeah, I fucking hated school. You love school, huh?
I loved it because I was good at it. Everything came easy to me.
Everything
my sister struggled. Yeah, I mean, I'm book smart, common sense wise, but
yeah.
Book smart, I got you.
I fucking hated school. I was horrible in school. I never paid attention. Even when I went,
yeah,
I didn't pay attention. I was always ditching school to hang out with my friends, which were older than me.
I think a lot of it was who you were surrounded by. You started getting into bad habits, like not going to school, and then just getting into things that you probably shouldn't have been getting into as a kid.
I mean, I was definitely hanging out with the wrong crowd. I was hanging out with people who were at, 13 years old, smoking weed, doing pills, fucking Xanax, volumes, like everything.
Crazy.
And I fell into that too. I was doing it too. I was taking Xanax, no idea what the fuck it even was. I did salvia. You know what salvia is?
Yeah.
That was a crazy fucking experience.
I've never done it, but
you guys ever done salvia?
Stories.
Wild. Fucking wild.
But you didn't know what
I had no idea what it was. I had no idea what I was doing. I was just being a dumb fucking kid trying to fit in and be cool.
But the problem is, it's like you're still discovering who you were, and based off you getting picked on all the time, and you had your circle that you were really cool with, and because that they were doing all these things, you felt the need to kind of fit in with them.
I thought I was really cool with them.
You think so, right?
I feel like a lot of people fall into that lie of, if you do this, you'll be cool, or if you dress like this, you'll be cool, or like whatever it is. And I was an idiot like that. I mean, for me to be 14, 15 years old, popping pills, stealing all the fucking time, selling weed, like just doing all this dumb shit. Like, I mean,
it's really reckless. And I mean, it's hard because even I grew up in Las Vegas, born and raised. So being raised in a place like this, you get exposed to things probably a lot sooner than most other kids do, because there's so much of it. Like, okay, you're in 8th grade, there's kids out there smoking weed, doing all these things, having sex, all this stuff. And other places, I mean, yeah, it can happen anywhere, but you're not as exposed to it as you are here. And I think Las Vegas is, as well as other big cities, you're exposed to so much of it, and it's so easy to come by, that there's so many kids out there dealing it and smoking it and all this stuff, to where in a small town, you don't come by that very often. And I think, like, if you want to talk about how your struggles were with all being around those type of people, with those drugs and stuff like that, and where did you end up with all of that?
The struggles of me being, like, around all the drugs?
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
Like, where was that path taking you? So, like, the fights that you would get into.
So I'll tell you like two really quick stories. So the first one, which was stupid, I was 13 years old. Back then, the cool thing was GoPeds. Do you remember GoPeds?
Yeah.
GoPeds were fucking sick.
They were so fast.
So, and I love my dad to death. He got me one. So I started riding a GoPed everywhere. That was like, I rode that bitch to the Strip from Henderson.
Before you could even drive.
Yeah. I mean, that was my transportation.
Yeah.
I'd carry a little backpack with a little 1-gallon gas can in it, a little bit of oil and mix, and I'd push my GoPed to get it going, and I was gone forever. And one of my buddy Kevin, back in the day, we went to the mall, and there was some dude who was there on probation that we were friends with. His hand was broken from getting in a fight and accidentally punching the asphalt. And he was going to meet his parole officer, and he had like a gram of weed on him. And he was like, hey, man, I'm going to get searched. I got to go take a drug test. You don't even have to buy this. Just here, take it. I can't have this on me. I was like, all right, cool. Sick.
Yeah, whatever.
So I took it. We went back, and the next day we were going back to the mall, and Dickie shorts, how they have those little side pockets?
Oh, yeah.
I had a gram of weed in my fucking Dickie shorts, and I was riding my GoPed to the mall in the middle of the street, and we were sitting at a stoplight. I go through the stoplight, and I didn't know there was a cop right there. And so we get pulled over, and the cop searches me, and mind you, I'm a kid. At this point, I had never been in trouble with the cops yet. So fucking nervous. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll just push it home. Like, yeah. I'm so sorry. I won't do it again. And he was like, why are you acting so nervous? I was like, I'm not nervous. I don't want to get in trouble. And he was like, do you have anything on you? I was like, no. And he was like, all right, I'm going to search you. Well, I didn't know my fucking rights. And he found the weed.
Yeah.
Man, he threw my GoPed in the bush. Which, that was like my pride and joy back then.
Yeah, that's all.
Called my dad. My dad had to leave work, which is downtown on the Strip, drive all the way down to Henderson, and come get me, or I was going to jail.
Oh
my dad pulls up. I'm sitting in handcuffs. It was so bad.
Yeah.
My dad believed in...
Physical
punishment.
Physical consequences.
Physical consequences. My dad would come home, like, when we were kids, and the very first thing you hear, fucking belt just ripping off of his pants.
His leather belt.
Remember Dan was saying something when he was here for the wedding?
Letting you know you're about to get your ass whooped.
Me and my brother would just look at each other and be like, oh, shit, and just start running.
What did I do? So you're sitting on the curb with your
I got my fucking ass beat in front of the cops.
Oh, man. And didn't they let you go?
Yeah, because my dad beat my ass in front of the cops.
They're like, all right, he's got it handled. We don't need to.
Man, I was in so much trouble with my parents.
Sounds like you were quite the troublemaker.
I was. I was just trying to find my way. But stupid decisions like that, not knowing I should have put it in my shoe or something.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm just joking. So that happened. And then the drugs. I think you're honestly the only person I've ever told this story, but I'm going to tell it right now. There was a kid who lived in my neighborhood who, I don't know if he had a drug problem or if he was prescribed them, whatever. I just know he had a lot of pills. My neighbor ended up taking them from him, and I don't even remember how I acquired them. I took them out of the pill bottle. I put them in a Ziploc bag. I had no idea what was what. So I had a sandwich bag full of pills.
Random mixes?
No fucking... They were like Xanax, Oxycontin, oxycodones. I had no idea what it was. I think back then we were like trying to look them up on Drug Finder or something. I don't know. No idea what they were. And I went over to my buddy's house, Curtis, and we go to his house, and of course we're being dumbasses doing drugs. And we're doing drugs, and I took the bag of pills. He used to have like a bunk bed in his bedroom, and we weren't even 16 yet because I didn't even drive. So I was sleeping over at his house or whatever, and he had a bunk bed, and on the bunk bed there was a railing, like a tube with a cap on top of it. But when he wasn't in there, because I knew he would go in and take the fucking drugs, I popped the cap off, shoved the pills in, put the cap back on.
To hide them?
To hide them. The next morning, we were supposed to be going to California with his family. And, man, I feel super guilty about even telling this story because I doubt his parents know this. And I'm sorry. So I woke up the next morning, and we were going to California with his family. And I didn't know where Curtis was. And I was like, what the fuck? Come to find out he's in the bathroom, laying on the floor. He'd been throwing up all night. He was overdosing.
Oh, shit. He found the pills?
He found the pills, and I went in the closet. He used to have like a trunk in his closet. He took like 5 or 6 pills out of there, crushed them up, mixed it all together, and just started snorting.
Oh, shit.
And, man. So I woke him up. I literally picked him up, threw him in a cold shower, and I don't really remember all of it, but I just remember us getting in the truck going to California, and we got there, and he looked at me and he said, "Thank you, you saved my life. If you didn't come in there, I'm 100% convinced I would have died." And I was just like, dude, you can't be doing this shit. And I think from then on there, I was kind of done. I think that scared the shit out of me.
Kind of a wake-up call, yeah. Which is good, because I don't think as that age you were intentionally doing pills or transporting them. I think you were just in it for like the thrill,
I was
around
a
the wrong
lost
people.
fucking kid.
Yeah.
I was a lost kid. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that pills were bad. I didn't know that I was doing something wrong. I was just doing whatever the other people around me were doing.
Yeah.
I thought it was normal.
If you're surrounded by it and everyone else is treating it like it's normal, you think it's normal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know, God rest his soul, drugs ended up taking his life.
Oh, really?
And you know, it's sad to say that I'm thankful. You know, I loved the kid to death, but I'm thankful I was able to separate
Before that happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, at any point, like, someone could take one too many pills and that be their last day, and whoever they were with that day, you know, that guilt's gonna ride with you forever, you know. So
yeah, I mean, and it's not like it was his fault, because even before then, you know, before then I was doing pills by myself. I stole almost all of my dad's lower tabs, and I was selling them because I wanted money.
yeah.
That's when the hustle started, though.
Thankfully, you're not a drug dealer today.
No. Everything happens for a reason.
No, definitely.
But so, man, you just like touching the ring, don't you?
Yeah, looks sexy on you.
It's kind of hard for me to, like, not relive it, but it's hard for me to explain it sometimes. I went from smoking weed to doing pills to stealing pills to selling pills. And the entire reason I was doing that was just to fit in. I think I'm like just now realizing that.
That's crazy. And that's just, I feel like, a rabbit hole of things. You start out smoking, and then if everyone else around you has everything else, then you just kind of move on to the next thing.
That's so sad. I felt so fucking alone that I was willing to do anything, including hurt the people around me, just to try and fit in. For who?
Yeah. It's hard to say. When you're at that age, you're influenced by so many different things. And, like, if you had struggles of fitting in or struggles of being bullied, like, you just didn't want to be treated like that. I think doing all those things made you feel a little bit more superior and accepted.
I don't think they made me feel superior. I think I don't really know what they made me feel, to be honest with you. I don't know. I feel like I was just so lost. I was just such a lost puppy. I'm trying to find my
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
So
the pills, I ended up stealing a bunch of pills from my dad, and I was selling them, and I'm trying to remember how they found out, because I wasn't just stealing pills from my dad. I stole jewelry from my mom, which I don't think anybody knows besides you and my mom and my brother. And the life experience that kicked me in the face with is fucked up. So I was stealing my mother's jewelry when I was in middle school to pawn for money, whether it was for drugs or to go party with my friends or whatever it was. Little did I know that the jewelry that I was stealing was her mother's.
Damn.
That died. Yeah, I'm a piece of shit. I shouldn't have done that.
I mean, as a kid, you probably didn't think about those things and the repercussions, or thinking it was just another piece of jewelry, not knowing the sentimental value behind it.
I was stealing one at a time. I was like, oh, she won't notice. She won't notice.
That's crazy.
I'm getting like,
and I know it's emotional, and I'm sure it's painful for you, because as you've grown up and we've had those conversations with her, you're learning more and more of what it felt like from her end, not so much from just your end.
I think it's more painful for me to talk about it and have to relive it than anything. And, even for a second there, when I was starting to say something, I was like, man, people are going to fucking judge me. People are going to think I'm a bad person. But
you're not. You learned your whole life.
I'm not a bad person. And if I didn't do those things, then I wouldn't be the man I am today. And the point is I'm willing to be 100% transparent and open about the shit that I've done, and a lot of people aren't. And for all of you guys listening, I do want to be 100% open and transparent with you guys. This is the second time we are shooting this podcast. We shot this once before, and I didn't feel that I was being myself. I didn't feel that I was being honest. I didn't feel like I went into details about the shit that I did, like I just had mentioned. And I shouldn't expect somebody else to do the same if I'm not going to do that. And that's it. I think not only do I deserve, but everybody watching deserves to know the real shit, not the fake shit that I might think I want to put out or whatever it is. I want to be honest. I want to be real.
And I think a lot of people will relate to you like that, because so many people, especially if they're new in your life and you're networking with them, they see you appear like this shining star, all these things, and which you are. You're an amazing person. You've accomplished so many things, but you and a lot of people have gone through so many struggles and gone through so many lessons. And I think it's important to share those and be transparent, because like a lot of the people we network with or we watch podcasts about, they have a rough past too. But if all they show are the sunshine and rainbows and everything else, that's not real. Yeah. Like, you're not just perfect every day of your life and you never make mistakes and boom, you're a millionaire. People go through lessons, sometimes further down the path than the others, or just, but being transparent about that, I think people will resonate with you more and be able to maybe relate to you. And you went down this path, but you knew when to turn around and come back, whether that was with drugs or with stealing or with whatever, because you're not like that anymore.
Yeah. And we're going to get into that in a second on why, on, I guess that aha moment, that like turning point of when I guess you could say my life turned around. I want to try and stay on track here, because I don't want to bounce around from this point to this point to this point to this point of my life, which I feel like I already kind of started to do. So I'm just going to summarize really quick that I was born in Chicago. I moved here when I was 8, started hanging out with Kyle. He became my best friend. Jenna, started getting into trouble, started smoking cigarettes, started smoking weed, started doing drugs, started hanging out with a lot of bad people, got into high school. I started getting in a lot of fucking trouble in high school. I started getting in fights. And I think all the fights was mostly from being bullied, from being Jewish or just whatever it was.
You got jumped a lot.
Yeah. I don't even want to get into that. I got jumped more than I was in fights.
Yeah.
And I still don't know why. Yeah. I have no, I feel like I've always been a person that's just tries to be neutral.
Yeah.
I just try to be neutral.
I think people just found you vulnerable to pick on or something, either because you were Jewish or.
Yeah. Well, it's funny how life turns around.
Yeah.
Because
crazy.
Now I'm more vulnerable than ever, and it's powerful.
Yeah. What a time to be alive, right? Things change.
So high school, started getting in a lot of trouble, ditching all of the time. And I remember me and Curtis actually, we ditched class to go smoke weed, and the school police officer pulls up on us. We were smoking in a dumpster enclosure. We were smoking a blunt.
What?
And his name was Officer Abbott, and he pulled up to us, and we had just finished. And so the back of our high school, there was like this tree that like, yeah, you know what I'm talking about, huh? There's like this tree that goes into a church, and I didn't smoke at the church because that's fucked up. But there was like a street and a cul-de-sac right on the other side of the church. So we went over there, we smoked, and then as we were walking back through the church, the cop pulls up. I was so high, I just kept walking up the tree as the officer's like trying to call us down. I just thought maybe if I kept walking, he would just forget about me.
Normal until you get to the end of the tree.
And he ended up searching Curtis, and I look back, and Curtis he had, you know what SRH is?
Yes.
Yeah, so he has this giant puffy SRH jacket. We reek of weed, and his hands are spread wide open getting searched, and he just has the biggest smile on his face as he's getting searched. Yeah, I just thought that was a funny story.
There's always a church next to a high school. That's where all the potheads hang out.
I know. Why is that?
That's how they rope them in.
Probably because most of them motherfuckers need Jesus.
Yeah, pretty much everyone.
Ain't that the truth? So anyways, so I started getting in a lot of trouble in high school, getting in fights. You know, I was getting bullied a lot. And it got to the point to where I started taking that anger out on the teachers. And I started cussing out the teachers. I ended up getting expelled. And I had to go to South Continuation School or whatever it was called. We had to wear like the khakis, the white, the uniform, you know?
Yeah. Get searched every day before you went in school.
So I got expelled, and there was like a 2-week period of the transition into that school. In that 2-week period, I broke my fucking ankle. So now I'm going to this school on crutches. I became the plug for everybody because at South Continuation School, you have to go through a metal detector. Well, you weren't allowed to have phones there. So everybody would jump on the bus, give me their phones. I would stuff everybody's phone in my cast.
Jesus.
Dude, I was a plug. People were giving me their freaking cup of noodles.
What?
That's what you got there. It was cup of noodles. It was like jail. It was fucking horrible.
I think they do that to steer kids away from going to jail.
It was horrible. I hated it. So anyways, I ended up going back to school, and I used to have super bad anger problems. I don't know why this girl did this, but it's like one of those mental pictures you just never forget. I bent over to tie my shoe, and maybe I was being a dick to her. I honestly, I don't remember. All I remember is her action and my reaction. I bent over to tie my shoe, and she punched me in the back. I have no idea why. I don't remember what I did to her, whatever. She punched me in the back. I turned. Remember the iPod Nanos?
Oh, yeah. Those were the best.
I know. Well, she had an iPod Nano sitting on her fucking desk, and I got pissed. I grabbed it. I threw it against the wall. It shattered against the wall. I flipped my desk over, and I just started screaming. I went out into the hallway, and there was like CMU walls everywhere.
Yeah.
And I just started punching the wall. I don't know. I think a lot of like the bullying, not fitting in, all that shit. Like I had so much anger towards the world, and I just started punching this wall. And Jeff Thorne, I think his name was Jeff Thorne. He was my principal. Walked up behind me and grabbed me. Well, I didn't look at who he was, and I tried to hit the principal of our school.
At the behavior school?
No.
Oh, that was at high school?
At my high school. After I went back.
Oh, okay.
Thank God that dude's fast because he dodged my punch.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been good.
And as soon as that happened, I was just like, oh, shit, what the fuck did I just do? I called my dad, and I was like, hey, you got to come get me. I just tried to hit the principal. Shows up to the school, and he was like, that's it. You're done. I'm pulling you out. You're done with school.
Seems like that was like the cherry on top between you blowing up and then him just being like, all right, I'm done trying to force you to go to school.
He was done picking me up all the time from getting suspended anyways.
Yeah.
So he pulled me out of school, and I ended up going to test for my GED. And if you get like a 500 or something, I want to say it was like a 500 or higher on this test, you get your diploma. Anything less, you get your GED. Obviously, there was like a pass-fail mark, but I don't remember what it was. I got like a 498.
Like 2 points below.
It was like one question I missed, and I was so pissed off. I was like, hey, can I please retake the test? Because at this point, back then, I was believing that everybody told me that was, if I don't get my high school diploma, I'm going to be fucking nobody.
Yep.
Freaking out. And so they wouldn't let me retest because I passed the test. I just didn't get a high enough score to get my diploma. I got my GED, my good enough diploma.
Good enough.
Yeah, that's what I call it.
And then in the end of the day, you've never needed it, right?
Not once.
Yep.
Not once. Fucking stupid. It's a lie. And not that I am telling anybody not to go to school. That's not what I'm saying. I think everybody should go to school. I actually wish that I had applied myself more in school. I would never go to college personally. Again, not telling anybody not to go to college. It's just not my thing.
Yeah.
I think there is value in going to school. I think there's value in going to college for certain people. Just not me.
I think it all depends on what you want to do. And it's funny you talk about that because you've never once needed your degree to prove anything. And here I was in high school as well. I worked so hard for my advanced honors diploma and biomedical sciences, all this stuff, and none of it mattered.
No, it does matter. You should feel proud of that.
No, it does. Like, I'm happy I achieved that. But I was told that would make me go 10 steps higher in college, and I wouldn't have to start at the very base level classes. And then I go to college, and they're like, oh, sorry, it doesn't matter. So I could have graduated like the top 1% of my class if I wasn't doing all the extra like honors classes and all of that stuff.
Look where it got you, though.
Yeah, that's
true. You married
true.
a sexy-ass man. Uh-huh. And,
I'm so glad I worked hard in high school for this.
And you're pretty much running the business.
Yeah.
Killing it. Look, see?
I know. What would you do without me?
I'm going to need to see a copy of your diploma.
All right, I'll hang it up in your office.
Man. So, yeah, good enough diploma. That's what I ended up getting, I guess. I don't fucking know.
Yeah, but at least you tried.
Yeah, I mean, I tried, and after that, my dad was like, all right, you need to get a fucking job. Fuck that. You ain't just going to be sitting around here mooching off me. And I was like, all right, deal. So I think like later that week, he was like getting Del Taco to eat or something. And he was like, hey, I got you a job application. Fill this out. And it was for fucking Del Taco.
For Del Taco.
God.
You got the job, though, right?
Yeah, I did. I hated it. That was my first job when I was 16.
You were the cashier or the line cook back there?
I was the drive-through cashier. Yeah, I was the drive-through cashier.
So everyone got mad at you?
Welcome to Del Taco. Can I take your order?
Were you one of those that would only put like one sauce packet in with like $20
Honestly, I don't know.
of food?
The job only lasted 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
They were making me do shit I didn't want to do, and I was an asshole kid, and I quit. I didn't want to be there.
Weren't they trying to make you clean like crappy bathrooms?
Yeah,
or something?
dude, fuck that.
Ugh.
I would way rather, and so I went back to selling weed. I did. I left. I went and met this dude who ended up starting to, front me some weed, and I picked up like a little bit and just kind of grew my business. Started small. I think I would just be like a middleman at first. Like somebody would need something, be like, "Oh, don't worry, I got you," and like add like $5, $10 here. And then I ended up getting way too big.
Yeah. Growing further than you thought.
Yeah, I ended up selling like pounds and pounds and pounds and pounds of weed. And this is back when weed was still illegal. I just want to make that clear. So I was doing a lot of illegal shit.
Yeah, but that led you into a sticky situation, didn't it, with your dad?
Yeah. It was really good for a while. I was paying for everything. I was paying for all my friends to go out and fucking party, and like I paid for my friends to do everything. Dumbass I was.
You could have been investing it.
I know. I should have. But I learned now. Yeah, I ended up making some bad business decisions, and I spent the guy's money that was fronting me. And am I like, what do they call it? Not encrypting. Am I incriminating myself right now? No, I'm good. All right, cool.
I have no clue. I'm not good with laws.
Yeah, fuck it, whatever.
I got bail money for you.
I ended up he fronted me a bunch of weed. I sold it, and then I ended up spending all this fucking money on street bikes or whatever the hell it was. And they threatened to shoot up my house. They threatened to do all this shit to my family, and it was so scary. So I literally went to my dad, and I was like, yo, I fucked up. I spent this guy's money. I owe him money. I need money, or we're fucked. And he gave me the money.
That's crazy.
Bad decisions.
Yeah, but I'm sure you learned from it.
Yeah. Don't spend money that you don't have.
That's an important lesson in life. You learned early on.
Yeah, don't spend money that you haven't earned yet. You know, even I feel like a lot of people still do that to this day, like in business or deals or a lot of real estate agents. You know, I've talked to quite a few real estate agents, and they'll talk about, you know, a deal's not done until the money's hit my account. But some people will be like, oh, yeah, these people are buying this house, and then they'll go blow a bunch of money thinking that the deal's closed, and then the deal ends up falling out, and then
you got to get yourself out of that mentality, because I mean, when I was younger, I did that with paychecks too. I'm like, oh, I'm getting paid tomorrow, I could spend this money today. But if it never came, then you were screwed, you know. But
Target.
What?
Target and Starbucks.
No.
Dirt bike parts.
Maybe a little bit. It was actually all dirt bike parts.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, but from high school, ever since you got out, you kind of, it was up until Kyle that you were kind of still doing all that stuff, partying, stuff like that, right? Or what was the
turning...
Did I
stop partying in high school?
No, I'm saying, what was the turning point of you kind of getting out of all of that?
The drugs or the partying? Because we party.
Well, I'm not saying, no, we barely party. But I'm saying, like, what was your turning point after high school to be like a wake-up call and be like, okay, I need to start taking this seriously and not messing around with all this bad stuff with drugs and fights and parties and stuff like that?
So it was when my dad caught me stealing the pills and stealing the jewelry.
Okay.
The day that my dad caught me stealing, I was at my friend Ben Cook's funeral, and he had died from overdosing. So out of all my friends growing up, I'm the only one that's still alive. Like my close friends that I hung out with every day. You know, Ben Cook, Kyle Hyde, David Doss, Curtis Leach. Ben Cook was the first one to go. He overdosed, and we were going back to this park called Legacy Park, and I think I had like one of those little Razor flip phones back in the day. Mm-hmm. My dad calls me fucking freaking out. And that's the moment that he found out that I was stealing all that shit, and it was just so bad, man. My mom wouldn't even look at me.
Man.
And that started just like a bad relationship with my mom. But I mean, and it was weird because whenever I got in trouble, my dad would always, you know, a belt or beat my ass or whatever it was. It didn't even happen.
Wow.
It was more of just like, they were so shocked and so disappointed that it was almost just like, how could you do this to me?
Yeah.
And I didn't even fully understand it back then, but I do now.
Yeah.
Because if somebody were to steal something of my father's, I would go fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And it took me a long time to realize.
Yeah, well, thinking especially like your own kid, you know, you kind of take responsibility for your kid's actions. So in that moment, you know, your mom or your dad.
I never asked her that. That's a really good point. I wonder how they felt besides betrayal.
Yeah. Because, I mean, especially at a young age, you, like, say Everly grew up at 15 years old, she was doing dumb stuff. You would feel the guilt or like the responsibility for their actions. Because,
That's
you know,
deep.
technically you raised them, you taught them these things, even if they learn it from outside sources, but you are the person to show for them.
Yeah.
So thinking about that as like, now we are parents, it's like, if Everly were to go do something, it's like, oh, wow, you know, how crazy would that be to be on the other side of it?
I just blame Faith and Matt.
I'm
I'm just joking. I'm totally joking.
We have
No,
a great co-parenting
they're
relationship.
They're amazing. It was totally a joke. I swear to God. Yeah. So it was really hard. It was a lot of betrayal.
So through all the loss in your life, take us through all of the friends that you lost and how that shaped you.
All right. So Ben Cook was the first one to go, which that was when I got in all that trouble. And then I was 17 years old, and it was September 27th, 2011, and I was at my best friend's house, Kyle High. It was like any other day playing Call of Duty, and I went home to eat dinner or shower or whatever, and at this time I had my brother's Mustang. Went home, shower, ate dinner, whatever, and then a few of my other friends called me and asked me to come over and hang out. I went over there, and Kyle hit me up, and he was like, hey, come swoop me up, is exactly what he said. I still have the phone with the text messages, too. Come swoop me up, and I was like, dude, I just got here. I'm just trying to chill for a little bit. You know, maybe I'll come get you in a little bit. Didn't really even hear anything after that. And like 45 minutes later, Chelsea, his little sister, calls me and screaming at the top of her lungs. All I can hear was Kyle. She called me and said, Kyle's missing and he has mom's gun. And I was like, what the fuck? Okay. So I left, drove, met them, and I met them in our neighborhood. There was like a neighborhood park. There was like a long curve. And we were sitting at the neighborhood park on the street in front of our cars, kind of just like getting together, like we were going to divide and conquer kind of deal. And
Yeah,
go look
try to
for
find him.
Go look for him, you know, because he couldn't have been far. He wasn't driving or anything. And so my idea was to go to the train tracks that asshole threw my bike off of. I thought he would be over there. We hung out there a lot as kids, rode bikes, whatever, because there was like a little wash down there. And I go over there. There's nothing there. And there was like a little entrance with a gate, and then you would walk over to the train tracks. Well, I hopped back over the gate, and I was walking back to my car. And as I was getting in my car, I was 17, so Danielle was with me. And I hear a gunshot go off. And I looked over at her, and I was like, just shut the fuck up, get in the car, let's go. So we ended up going to another park that was close, a Rio Grande Park, looking for him. Nothing. And I was like, all right, well, let's go back to the neighborhood, drive around the neighborhood and look for him. Drove up. We were driving back to my neighborhood, and Chelsea calls me, and all I can hear is Kyle and gun. She was fucking screaming. And by the time I pulled up, Kyle had committed suicide, and I pulled up to Chelsea shaking Kyle, asking him to wake up. And it was just so fucking graphic. And, I know that Christine and Felicia and Chelsea are going to watch this video. And I'm sorry if it's hard for you guys. It's hard for me too. But it was a huge part of all of our lives. It shaped a lot of all of our lives. I was always super close with that family. I was going there every Christmas because I was fucking Jewish. So I wanted
Your
to spend.
parents didn't celebrate it?
They didn't celebrate Christmas, no. So, man.
Just seeing your best friend like that.
Yeah, it was fucked up, man. I could still picture exactly what he was wearing. I could picture his shoes, his shirt, his shorts. He was wearing a black long sleeve shirt. He was wearing silver shorts. He had black slides. They were set perfectly. I mean, it was just so fucked up. I was 17 years old, and I just found my best friend that I was just with a few hours ago, just gone. There's nothing I could do. I didn't even know what to fucking feel. I didn't know. I felt so bad for Chelsea and Christine and Felicia, and I felt so much hate on myself for not picking up the phone and going to pick him up. I felt so angry that there was nothing I could fucking do. I was just so fucking. I didn't even know. I don't know. I didn't know what to think. And I remember going home that night. I couldn't even I couldn't walk in the dark. I couldn't walk in the dark for months. I had to be walked through any dark room.
That's
just
crazy.
The graphic images, you know, it was just.
I couldn't imagine.
I mean, seriously, stop and think about that for your second. Who was your best friend as a child?
I had a lot of them, but I mean, I had Katie Hansen, I had Heaven, who, you know, growing up with, but I could not imagine, and my sister, you know, like I couldn't imagine what they went through and what that felt like for them, you know, and especially at such a young age. You never think something like that can happen until it does, you know.
Life changes in the blink of an eye.
Truly does. And I think
crazy.
You've experienced a lot of loss in your life, you know, family members before that, friends,
and then man, even after that, David Doss, he got hit by a City of Henderson vehicle. He was riding a street bike. He was supposed to be with me that day. I got a phone call from one of my buddies, was like, "Hey, you riding David's street bike?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Dude, I think you should come down here. It looks like his bike." And it just got in an accident. And so I go down there, and I was riding his bike like a week before. We would always like kind of share each other's motorcycles and shit. And I pulled up my Facebook. I looked at the most recent picture that I was riding his bike, because me and John went down to the strip or something on the street bikes, and it was his bike. He was, I don't know where he was going, but he was going like 80, 85 miles an hour up Whitney Ranch. City of Henderson vehicle was on, the lady was on her fucking phone texting, pulled out in front of him. He hit the truck, went through the windshield, and hit the B-pillar. Do you know what the B-pillar is?
Yeah, like
where,
in between.
No, where your seatbelt comes out of.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I wasn't there when it happened, but from the reports that I read and the medics that I talked to and all that stuff, one of his arms were fully degloved, and you know what degloved is.
Yeah, all the skin peeled back.
Yeah, when you deglove your arm, you're basically all of your skin comes off. He died on scene. They revived him. On the way to the hospital, he died twice. They revived him. When he got to the hospital, he died again. They revived him. By the time I got to the hospital, after calling a bunch of people to find out where he was, when I walked in the room, his nose was completely flush with his face. He had broken almost every single bone in his body. Yeah, it was crazy. And there was blood all over the hospital room. I mean, he was just breathing at that point. You know what I mean? Like, because of a machine. So it was definitely unfair to. So obviously they made the executive decision to pull the plug, should say. Yeah. But, you know, from 15 years old to 18, 19 years old, I was losing everybody.
Yeah.
You know? And then my parents got divorced. Yeah, I was there when that happened. I walked in from golfing with my dad. We walked in. My mom looked up at my dad and was like, "I want a divorce."
That's crazy. Just one thing after another.
It was just one thing after another. And it was so weird to think about, like, my family splitting up, whatever. So my mom left, and so it was just me and my dad in the house. Obviously, me and, you know, my ex broke up, whatever. It was one of those high school kid relationships, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I didn't know my dad had a gambling problem. So I'm working 6 days a week at this time. My dad's fucking absolutely heartbroken. This was when I was working for the Ford dealership. He was torn up, depressed, whatever it was. Fast forward to the SEMA after party, which, we've had some conversations about. Long story short, I was at home. I just got home from work. I had gotten some SEMA after party VIP tickets or whatever for free from work, and I was sitting in my room. My dad walks in, and it was me and Faith, Everly's mother, and this was before Everly was born, obviously. And he walks in, and he's like, "Hey, I want to hang out with you guys tonight. What do you guys got going on?" I was like, "Oh, I got these 2 VIP tickets to this after party." And he was like, "Oh, that's awesome. Can I come?" And I was like, "Dude, I'm sorry. I only got these 2 tickets." He's like, "Oh, that's okay. I'll just, eat some dinner and go to bed." I was like, "All right." And that was the last time I ever talked to my dad. It was just like fucking boom. Like, it was everyday life. I had no idea what the fuck was going on. I was 21 years old, and it was just like think about us just going to bed one morning or one night, like last night, and then you just wake up and I'm not there. It's so fucking crazy. It's never it's always when everything's going perfect. When life is going great, shit comes crashing down.
You never know when it's gonna happen either. That's crazy.
And so my dad dies. I'm 21 years old. I told you about how they wouldn't give me the time off.
But walk through that.
I think I already did.
No, how you found out that he had passed away?
Oh. So we went to the SEMA party. I came home, and it was probably 10:30 or 11 at night that I got home, because I had work at like 6:30, 7 in the morning, 8 in the morning, something like that. And it was a Saturday. Got home, went to bed, and my dog at the time woke me up at like 3 in the morning. I was like, fuck, all right, I'll take the dog out,
Yeah.
And I open my bedroom door. My dog walks out and goes straight to my dad's room. Obviously, his door was closed. Goes straight to my dad's room, and it's 3 in the morning. I'm like, come on, let's go outside. Dog freaking sniffs around, doesn't go to the bathroom. So now I'm fucking pissed that I just got out of bed at 3 in the morning. I stayed out late. I have work super early. And we go back in the house. Dog bolts straight back to my dad's door.
It's crazy. Dogs have that intuition.
They fucking do, man. And I obviously yelled at the dog, come on, get back in your kennel or go lay down or whatever it was. I woke up like 30 minutes late for work and got dressed as fast as I could. Ran into the kitchen. I didn't even notice that his clothes were still laying over the chair. He would always get dressed in the kitchen, which is fucking weird. He would always
way of doing things.
He would always get dressed in the kitchen. He would lay his clothes over the chair the night before. He'd wake up, shower, walk in the kitchen in his fucking underwear, and get dressed as he's watching the news. Didn't notice that his clothes were hanging over the chair. I grabbed a Red Bull out of the fridge, bolted out to my car. Didn't even notice his car sitting in the driveway. Backed out and rushed to work. I got there like 7:30, 8 o'clock, whatever it was. It was on a Saturday. And like 10:40 a.m. rolls around, and his boss, I want to say her name was Ashley. She calls me, and she goes, hey, is this Robert Eisenstadt? And I was like, yeah. And she goes, hey, this is Ashley. I'm your dad's manager at Nordstrom's, and I just wanted to call and reach out. Your dad hasn't shown up for work today, and it's just really strange. He's never missed a day of work ever, and he's usually an hour early. I just wanted to make sure he was okay. And I was like, really? I don't think his car was at the house when I left. I was like, let me call Faith and check, because she was there obviously that morning with me or whatever. I call Faith and I'm like, hey, are you still at the house? She was like, no. I was like, can you go back and see if my dad's car was there? And she's like, I don't think it was. I was like, can you just do me a favor and go back and see if my dad's car is there? 15 minutes go by, and I get a phone call from Faith, and she's like, Robert, your dad's car is here. What do you want me to do? And I was like, go inside and check on him. So she goes inside, and she was like, Sam. She's like, he's not waking up. And I was like, go shake him. And I I think she walked over there and shook him, and she was like, Robert, he's not waking up. And I was like, oh, fuck. I hung up the phone, called 911, and I guess from what I was told, she had called her dad because she was scared. She didn't know what to do. And I think he was telling her to try and do CPR. I mean, at this point, he was gone. It was like 3 a.m. or something. But I didn't know. I called 911. I said, hey, my father's unresponsive. This is my address. I'm on my way there. I was at Decatur and 95, which is about 45 minutes from where we were living. I had a 2014 Mustang, brand new. My dad just co-signed on it for me. I was like, dude, I'll make the payment. Come on, let me get this badass car. Yeah. The entire way home, I think the fastest the car went was like 120, 125 or something. It was a V6, but it was, the manual one is cool. The emergency lane the entire way home, as fast as the car would go, it was pegged. I ran every single red light. I didn't stop for anything or anyone. I pulled up to my house. There's fire trucks, ambulances everywhere. And I walk into my garage, and I think it was like the fire captain or the lead medic or whatever it was. And he goes, are you Robert Eisenstadt? I said, yes, sir. And I had a pair of sunglasses in my hand. And he said, he got down on a knee and said, I'm so sorry. I took the sunglasses. I fucking chucked them against the wall. I started screaming. And I went into my dad's room, bawling my fucking eyes out. And I just remembered, like, it's like my fucking heart just got ripped out of my body. My stomach was like in my asshole. It was fucked up. I could still remember exactly how he was laying. He had like his arms crossed, like
holding his head up,
and half of his face was purple.
So
like
he
half
had
of his
been
body. Yeah, he was
passed
gone.
away for a while.
He was gone. Half of his body was purple. I got so fucking depressed. I went and slept at Christine's house, Kyle's mom's house, that night, and for a few nights after that. And, we were dealing with all the shit. It was busy. There's people coming over. In a Jewish tradition, you have to cover up. And I'm not perfect on this because I wasn't always super religious, but in the Jewish religion, you have to cover up everything that you can see a reflection in your house. And I forget the word that it's called. Do you guys know what the word that it's called? No. I'm such a bad Jewish person.
Like all your mirrors,
all your mirrors,
metal.
TVs, everything. You have to shut it all. You have to put like a curtain over it or something. And people, for 3 days, your front doors are open. Your doors in your house are open, so family, friends can help come, mourn and visit, and they bring food or whatever. And it was very busy.
And at this time, your mom and your brother lived in a different state.
My mom lived in Florida. My brother lived in Kansas. They had both come in.
Oh, okay.
They had both. Obviously, they both. I called my brother. He flew in right away, and my mom flew in right away. They were there like that day. Wow. Or that night. So it was super busy, and it just got so depressing for me after everybody started leaving. I got to this point where I was so convinced that everybody in my life was just going to leave me. Everybody was just dying or disappearing out of my life or whatever it was. And I remember being alone in my bedroom and doing like some weird seance shit with, I like lit some candles around a picture of my, I don't know. It was so fucking weird.
You're just trying to come to terms with it?
I don't know. It was like super fucking weird. I don't know what I was doing. Yeah, I was just, I don't know. I was like lighting candles in my room and like, I don't know, maybe I was praying, you know.
You're trying to cope somehow.
Yeah, I was trying to cope somehow. And if you ask Jared, I think Jared's the one that remembers it. He said something about it. And Faith and I ended up getting in a heated argument. We ended up splitting up for a while. And again, I was just like, everybody's fucking leaving me. I got to a point where I was just so convinced that everybody was dying anyways, that I didn't want to be here. I wanted to be gone. And I remember sitting on my bed inside of my dad's room. Is that picture of my dad here?
I don't know.
You know which one I'm talking? This one.
It might be.
Or we had it for the wedding.
Yeah, we had it for the wedding, but
it's not back here.
It's just a copy.
I remember sitting on my bed, holding that picture with a Ruger P89 9mm in my hand, and I was 110% ready to just die. I just didn't want to be here. Everybody was gone. I was alone. I just lost everything. I didn't know what to do. I was just feeling so fucked up. And I still to this day don't know how, but Kyle's mom, Christine, pops through my front door, walks into my bedroom, freaks out on me, takes all of my guns, snatches me by the fucking neck and drags me to her house. She didn't give me my guns back for months, but she made me stay at her house. Which, yeah, I mean, I'm still convinced that woman saved my life. And I don't know. I ended up going to Sedona for a while. That place is magical. I ended up going to Sedona for a while and just kind of doing some self-healing. I think me and Faith were trying to, work some kinks out of our relationship and our life, whatever it was.
With help of the vortexes in Sedona.
That place is awesome.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
So I ended up going there, and I was like, man, I don't know what the fuck I'm going to do with the rest of my life. I felt like I got a second chance.
Once Christine stopped you?
I felt like that woman literally gave me a second chance at life.
It's crazy. She must have had her intuition up. And I mean, as a mother, you already have that. But then what she went through with her son and then with you, she probably...
I can never imagine like Everly.
Yeah. I don't even want to think about it. That's crazy.
But, yeah, we're not going to get into that. So I ended up getting some life insurance money from my father, $80,000 to be exact. And Faith was in a horrible car accident. A drunk driver tried to commit suicide and hit her head on. She was sitting at a stoplight. She was in a Tacoma with her ex-boyfriend and his son at the time. All three of them got injured. Faith got injured the worst. She broke her back. She ruptured her L5S1. She cracked her pelvis. I don't remember all of the exact details. Did she ever show you the picture of her truck?
I don't know.
The Toyota Tacoma, the black one?
I don't think so.
She drove a Toyota Tacoma. This thing was fucking crumbled.
And somehow they're all alive.
I think her ex-boyfriend, John, broke his leg and his arm. Something. The kid was pretty decent because for whatever reason they never let the kid ride in the middle seat, but that day they did. So that probably saved his life. So she ended up getting a settlement from that, and we both agreed that we wanted to do something with our lives. We wanted to start a business. And I was trying to open up a bar or a restaurant because I thought that was going to be a good idea for Vegas. And one of my buddies walked up to me and said, hey, you should open up a carpet cleaning business. I do it for my boss, and he makes pretty good money. I was like, fuck that. I ain't doing that shit.
That's
nasty.
Gross. Yeah.
It's fucking nasty. Probably 2 months went by. I started blowing money like an idiot. I got my tattoo done, which is a portrait of my dad. It says never give up. It's got the Marshall Fields clock from Chicago, 11/08, November 8th. That's the day my dad died. My dad sold shoes, so I got some fresh wingtips put on there for him. I bought a truck. I bought a boat. Started being stupid. We had a little bit of fun with the money, whatever. And then I was like, all right, we really got to fucking do something. And I was like, fuck it. I went and bought the truck. We went and bought chemicals, all this stuff, business license, And there was a lot of valuable lessons in that process, which I think we should do on another episode about starting the business. But all of that shit kind of got me to where I am, excuse me. All those struggles, and it shaped me to be the person I am today. And I think the biggest thing is owning up to all the shit that I did. Like the stealing, the lying, the drugs, the bad things that I did that most people won't admit that they did.
Yeah. Because most people want to be like, okay, I'm not that person anymore. I want that stuff to just go away.
But you were that person. And all these podcasters and YouTubes, the things that they say is, I don't give a fuck where you were. I don't give a fuck where you are. I want to know where you're going. I do give a fuck where you were, because that's how you are here.
Yeah. Every experience you've ever had in your life has put some type of puzzle piece within you, versus like you were exposed to so many things as a young kid. What if you would have lived, super religious, super straight edge, all this stuff, but then you started making those mistakes at 25? Your life would be 180 degrees different.
Hell yeah.
You'd be in prison. You'd be this. So you learned all those lessons early on, thankfully. And now, as an adult, you're not even interested in those things. You're not doing those things because you learned your lessons. Versus someone who would have waited till they're like 25, 35 to make those decisions. They learn that shit real hard, and there's no second. I mean, there is second chances, but it's a lot rougher of a path.
I'm still seeing people that I grew up with still making those fucked up decisions, and it's so crazy.
It's hard to think about. I mean, because at some point down that path, whether it's drugs or it's alcohol, whether this, you got to know when to turn around or to know when to stop. Yeah. Oh, you smoke weed once a month or on the weekends, whatever. But if you're smoking meth every single day, that's a different story. You got to know what point to stop and what point to turn around. Where, okay, you've experienced it, you know what it's like, don't really like it, don't really care for it. I don't need to do that. Because you fall into these categories or these paths that just take you down a whirlspin of other decisions.
Yeah.
So, and I think everything you did growing up and your childhood, your mom, your dad, your brother, all of that contributed to who you are today. And I think even through the decisions or mistakes you made, you're still you have a huge heart, and you're such a genuine person, and none of that stuff defines you as a person.
All of it defines me as a person.
Yeah, but people aren't going to look at you and be like, oh, drug dealer.
No.
They're not going to look at you and say, oh, you steal. It's not defining you. It's what you learned from those experiences and the thought processes and everything else that attribute to how you think and who you are today. Yeah.
I bet you're thankful I went through a lot of that shit, huh? I wouldn't be such a sweetheart to you.
Oh, man. That's another decision for another day.
I wasn't being sarcastic.
No, I know. Well, everything in our lives led us to here we are today.
Are you saying I'm an asshole?
No, I'm not.
I'm an asshole.
Oh, stop it. Sometimes you can be. But I can be rude, too, sometimes. I'm a bitch sometimes.
Don't let her get hungry.
Hangry is a whole nother personality. But I think you did a great job telling your story, and it's great to let everyone know your background. So when we make references or as we're talking about things, they know there's a lot more behind it than just sunshine and rainbows. There's a lot of lessons, a lot of hard lessons, a lot of loss and mistakes, and that made you who you are today. And without those things, you probably wouldn't be here. You probably wouldn't have a business if your dad hadn't passed away.
I wouldn't.
Or you wouldn't have had the successes that you've had if one little thing would have changed.
Yep.
So
everything happens for a reason.
And that's your favorite saying and motto.
And I don't know what that's going to turn into, but it's going to turn into something.
What?
Everything happens for a reason. For us. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm gonna end this really quick with like an analogy I was thinking of yesterday or 2 days ago. So I was reading the 75 Hard book. I started this new routine. I wake up at 4 a.m. I get up, go downstairs, get ready, leave the house by 4:30, at the gym by 5, done by 6:30. I get home, hang out with you and Ev before she goes to school, then I go to the office. So I was sitting in the jacuzzi reading my book, and I was like, life's like a pizza. And I don't know why it popped in my head, but I was like, man, life's really like a pizza. If you were to order a pizza right now, and it was a, like a round pizza, with the garlic crust, just like you
garlic seasoning on the crust.
It's cut into a bunch of different pieces, right? If you were to get that pizza and try and shove the whole thing in your mouth, what would happen? You'd choke. You wouldn't be able to fit the whole thing in your mouth. But if you take one slice out and you take a bunch of little bites, eventually you'll finish that slice and you'll move on to the next one. Oh. And I think if you can take a pizza and compare it to life, this was such a weird fucking thought that I had in the whatever. If you can compare that to your life, and I try and take on so much. On that live call that I did earlier, he was like, yeah, you want to be the yes man. I always wanted to be the yes man. I wanted to say yes to everything because I never wanted to miss an opportunity.
Yeah.
But if you take life and you divide it into certain things, family, business, fitness, ideas or hobbies, whatever it is, you got to focus on each one of those in small pieces, right? So you break them into small pieces, and then you just start taking little bites. Yeah. If you try and shove the whole thing in your mouth, it's not going to work. But if you take those little bites, eventually you're going to get to the end, and you're going to achieve you're going to achieve the goal of finishing it. So I think that's kind of what I'm focused on now is taking little bites of my pizza called life.
Every little thing counts. Taking one little small step a day towards your goals. I think that's very similar to Sean Whalen's book too. He talks about the pizza, how
he talked about a pizza?
Yeah. And he talks about
Did he fucking really?
Just because I just finished it. I think it's because he talks about, okay, if you put 100% of your focus into your business, you still have the slice that's family, you still have the slice that's yourself. You have to do both of them. You have to do all of it.
I fucking quit.
Oh, stop. You're
I thought that was mine. God damn it.
No, but you did.
I just read that book.
You did a different spin on it. So I think that's where the idea came from, but you did a different spin on it.
Thanks, Sean.
Yeah.
I thought I had you on one.
He just stole your idea. No. I'm just
damn
joking.
it.
But
I thought that was like an OG original.
No. But the way you put it and the analogy that you used it for, I think is original to you. It's just, it reminded me of what I just read because I had just finished that book about, if all your focus is in family and or if all your focus is in business, you're missing the other slices that are family, relationships, stuff like that. So
yeah, and you take baby steps.
Yep.
Don't expect to shove the whole thing in your mouth and swallow it at once. It's not going to happen. Yep. You gotta everything that you do, you gotta be patient. You gotta take baby steps and believe in the process and the fact that as long as you just keep going, eventually you'll finish.
Yeah, I agree.
And like we were on that coaching call earlier, who do you want to look up to? Like, I want to be the person that I want to be the person that I look up to.
Yep.
I want to be the person that I admire and I dream of being, and I will be.
Yep. And
even this video might get 5 views, 40 views, 200. I don't know. I don't care. The point is that I'm doing this because, one, knowing that I was able to overcome these struggles might help somebody do the same thing.
I agree.
So, 1, I want to help people. And 2, I hate being on camera. I hate public speaking. Actually, that's a lie. I don't hate either of those. I really love doing it. It just scares the living shit out of me.
Makes you uncomfortable.
It makes me super uncomfortable. Almost every time we get on camera the first time, I'm like short of breath. Can't talk. My mind is like super fuzzy. I don't know what to say. And each one of these that I do or we do or whatever it is, I'm going to get more confident and more comfortable and better. And then I'll be presented with some opportunity to do something great with it. I believe that process. I believe that one day this will turn into something amazing.
You just got to be consistent.
I know.
That's life. You got to be consistent. One thing a day. If you continually work for it and you continually post, you continually research and try to be better, in a year, you're going to look back and be like, man, I was right here. I'm way up here now. Like, it's a complete difference, you know?
A brick a day builds a wall.
Yep. Favorite line?
My boy Colby. See how there's bricks on the back of our logo?
Oh, yeah, I like it. Brick a day builds a wall.
I mean, it's true. But, yeah. All right. I think that's going to conclude today's episode. I appreciate you coming on here for the second time. I want to make that clear because, again, I'm not trying to hide shit. I want to be upfront and honest. This was the second time we filmed this.
Yeah.
And
that's fine. And you went into way more detail about how you were feeling and what you actually went through. Because people hear like, oh, yeah, my dad died. They're like, oh, wow, that's so sad. But to walk in, see that, the things you experienced, how old you were when you experienced them, like until you open up that book of details, people will just be like, oh, yeah, people lose people all the time. But they don't know the exact circumstances and like what you went through and how that shaped you. So I think that was very smart to redo this and open up all those details and, you know, your experiences and everything that you've been through. Yeah.
Which being open to your emotions and letting your feelings out as a man is really fucking hard because society has always told us men that if you do that, you're a fucking pussy.
Yeah. Like, stop crying.
In reality,
get over it.
It's the complete fucking opposite. All of these guys and all of these men are too afraid to talk about their emotions. They're too afraid to talk about their feelings. They want to be fucking tough. This doesn't bother me. That doesn't bullshit. I'm extremely open with you about every feeling I have, every issue I have, everything that is going on in my life. And we just had a conversation in my kitchen with my ex and about how I was never like that, right?
Yeah.
Did we not? And it was a great conversation, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And I almost had like that epiphany of, damn, this is why I am this way. Because I was never around that, and I saw what it got me.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying?
Never talking about your emotions and what you're feeling.
Yeah. We fought like fucking crazy. We hated each other. And I'm so thankful that it happened because I'm able to communicate with you so well and express my love to you in so many different ways. Yeah. Does that make sense? Yeah. You know? You know how I feel. I don't let you leave the fucking room until you know how I feel.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. But I let everybody else know how I feel too. I'm open about my emotions. I'm good. I ain't got shit to prove to nobody.
It's good to be in touch with that because I think even as most adults, they can't even identify their emotions themselves. I mean,
yeah.
Like, I had a friend that went to therapy, and first thing the lady did was print out a picture of a bunch of different faces and be like, okay, one's sad, one's happy, one's confused, to an adult. And it's like, you got to identify what you're feeling first. Because I know me, I get frustrated or pissed off, and I shut off. And I'm like, I'll deal with it later. I don't even want to, like, I don't even know what I'm feeling, da-da-da. But until someone told me that, I'm like, wow, okay, you got to sit there and be like, am I really confused? Why am I confused? Am I frustrated? Why am I frustrated? You know, and as most adults, you're learning how to identify those feelings. Or maybe you started at a young age, you know, being able to identify those. Okay, what is the root cause of this, and what can I do to fix it? You know?
Yeah.
So, and that's what's crazy. I think it's really good to be in touch with your emotions and know what's going on and understand yourself like that.
How does it affect you, me being so in touch with my emotions? Hey, honestly, don't bullshit because I know the answer. I want to hear you say it.
it's hard for me because I'm not an emotional person. I'm one of those people, if something happens or one of my best friends screws me over or something, I'm like, well, it happened. It is what it is. I'm moving on from it. Because to me, I think I drilled so much into my own head. If it happened and there's nothing I can do to change it in this moment, I don't need to worry about it.
Yeah, but that's a different subject.
No, because that's how I get over things. I'm not in touch with my emotions as much as other people are. And that's something I'm learning to do because I'm still struggling to identify them myself. Like I just said, if I get upset or pissed off, I just shut off. I don't sit there and think about it like I should. And
I do.
I know. And you do. And I'm also learning from you.
I will sit down and break apart every word, every sentence, how it was said.
Yeah, but I'm not.
I wonder if that's overthinking or.
I mean, that's a gray area. I don't know, but I'm just not that in touch with my emotions because I'm not an emotional person. I mean, obviously, I am a little bit more now because you've brought out emotions in me like love and Everly and being a parent and all this stuff. It's like it's so much more emotional than I was before because I used to race dirt bikes, be around a bunch of my guy friends. I was like, yeah, whatever.
I'm good at bringing out the love in you, aren't I?
Yeah, you weirdo. Not here, not now. Okay.
All right.
I think that's for a whole nother episode. That's a whole nother conversation.
All right. I don't even know how long this went for, but we're going to wrap this up because this is starting to turn into a show about our relationship, which is cool. Yeah, we should do one about that. I think that'd be awesome. And but anyways, that's a little bit about my story, why I'm here, how I'm here, and if I helped you out at all by sharing my story, let me know. If you don't care to hear my story, fuck you, I don't care. And yeah, that was it. This was for us. And if it helps anybody that is struggling through depression or is suffering from loss, or you're going through hard shit, you're getting in trouble, you're dealing with any of that stuff, realize that there is another day ahead of you, and it's okay not to be okay. And there's people in life that care about you whether you really realize it or not. It was super fucking hard for me to realize that shit. And I wake up every day thankful that I'm alive. So, thank you for watching the show. If you guys like the channel, share, subscribe. But definitely the most important thing is to share the show and let other people know that we're here to share a message and we're here to help people. Or don't. Either way. Yeah. Ready to go?
All right. Yeah.
Let's bounce.
Bye.
See ya.